Bathing. Picture yourself as a 17th century French noblewoman. Grace, charm, impeccable style, demanded. But personal hygiene? That's where the glamour truly vanished. Because bathing, the very act we link to cleanliness today, it was avoided like the plague. Why? The science of the era lagged far behind common sense. Doctors warned that warm water wasn't cleansing, it was an enemy. They feared it dangerously opened your pores, inviting invisible diseases lurking in the air. And the church? Its powerful voice condemned bathhouses as dens of vanity and sin. The result? An entire culture turning its back on water. Forget private baths or daily showers. A full-body wash was rare, seen as unnecessary, risky, even sinful. Instead, noble women, yes, even royalty, relied on a damp cloth. Hands, face, maybe the neck. But not with water. These cloths were often soaked in alcohol, vinegar, or even salviva, thought to clean without exposing the skin. And when a bath did happen, brace yourself. It was usually a family affair. Everyone used the same tub of water. Men first, of course. By the time a woman stepped in, the water was lukewarm, murky, filled with the day's residue. The effect on places like Versailles? The smell didn't stop at the stables. Visitors recoiled from the overpowering scent in the palace halls. A choking mix of stale perfume, unwashed bodies, animal fat, and mildew. It wasn't that they didn't care. Their definition of clean was just different. Especially for women, the paragons of beauty. The cruel contradiction? Wrapped in silk, glittering with jewels, powdered to perfection, yet beneath it all, skin untouched by soap for months. Truly, looking magnificent from afar, but far from magnificent up close. Toilets. Think Versailles was all glittering halls and manicured gardens? Think again. Because this palace of unimaginable luxury, home to Europe's most powerful elite, had a dirty little secret. Almost no proper toilets. Hundreds of rooms, thousands of nobles and guests, and barely a functioning bathroom. So, what was the solution? Chamber pots. Simple bowls tucked under beds, hidden behind curtains, stashed in closets. When nature called, you use your pot, and then someone, hopefully not you, simply flung its contents out the nearest window. Crosswinds or crowded courtyards below meant unsuspecting targets often got a truly disgusting surprise. And many courtiers couldn't even be bothered with pots. Men routinely relieved themselves off balconies or right in the palace gardens. Foreign visitors recoiled. This wasn't the odd accident. It was rampant, systemic filth. The corridors themselves reeked and doubled as improvised toilets. Picture a lady-in-waiting, gliding through the halls in her finest silk gown, delicately lifting her skirts, not just to show exquisite embroidery, but desperately trying to avoid stepping in human waste. It got so unbearable that in 1715, a royal decree finally ordered the corridors cleaned once a week. Yes, you read that right. Once a week. Because that alone was considered progress. And wiping? Forget toilet paper. It was cloth scraps, leaves, straw, or in dire moments, bare hands. Washing afterward? Rarely thorough, if at all. With waste tossed out windows and cleaning methods this crude. Is it any wonder parasites and disease thrived in the very heart of French power? Versailles. Breathtaking beauty wrapped in a stench that could knock you sideways. Throne rooms without thrones. Indeed. Wigs. Versailles was the epicenter of European fashion, and nothing screamed status louder than a noblewoman's hair. Forget simple hairdos. These were monumental structures. Styles soared feet above the head, canvases for ribbons, pearls, miniature gardens, and yes, even tiny, fully-rigged ships, seemingly sailing atop powdered waves of hair. To build these sky-high creations, women packed their locks with wire frames, horsehair, wool, and cotton padding. Then came the glue, thick pomade made from beef tallow, animal fat, slathered onto mold and cement the masterpiece. But that greasy foundation? It was a warm, sticky paradise for lice. With hair rarely washed and wigs seldom removed, infestations weren't just common, they were inevitable. Entire colonies thrived in those towering, greasy peaks. So, what did a lady do when her scalp screamed? She reached for her silver lice claw, a long, ornate scratching tool. These weren't hidden away. They were carried to dinners and soirees. Imagine sipping wine. then casually using your delicate claw for a discreet, desperate scratch. Comfort? Irrelevant. In the cutthroat court hierarchy, appearance was survival. To be out of fashion meant social death. So, you endured the crawling scalp, the rancid smell of old fat, the chronic neck pain from the weight, even the terrifying risk of your wig catching fire from a candle. For peasant women, a simple head shave solved the lice problem. But for nobles, their hair was their crown, even if that crown was literally crawling with life. Food. Picture the legendary Versailles banquets, tables overflowing with roasted pheasants, glistening meat pies, sugared fruits, and towers of pastries. Pure decadence, right? Think again. Behind this culinary spectacle lay a stomach-churning reality. The royal kitchens weren't just near the palace's sanitation nightmare. They were drowning in it. Versailles plumbing was so catastrophically bad that raw sewage routinely backed up into the cooking areas. Shockingly, wastewater is even reported to have flooded Queen Marie Antoinette's private kitchen. Imagine preparing a feast amidst that. Refrigeration? Ventilation? Sanitary waste removal? Forget it. Contamination was constant. Meat spoiled rapidly. Produce sat for days. Pests scurried unchecked. Yet the cooks pressed on, serving potentially lethal meals to Europe's elite. The result? Gut-wrenching agony was the norm. Diarrhea, vomiting, and infections plagued the court. But the true horror? Parasites. Thanks to filthy kitchens and undercooked meat, intestinal worms, especially tapeworms, infested the nobility. Even the Sun King, Louis XIV himself, wasn't immune. He famously passed a shockingly long, 6-inch tapeworm, a grim trophy proving no rank escaped hygiene's consequences. For noble women, dining was a high-wire act. Smile, flirt, toast, and nibble daintily, all while secretly battling nausea, crippling cramps, or worse. Their elegance was a mask, painfully worn over sickness, because at Versailles, appearances mattered more than actual well-being. The finest feast could be your worst nightmare. Childbirth. For royal women, childbirth wasn't just intimate or painful, it was a public spectacle. In 17th century France, a queen or noblewoman's labor became a state event. The delivery room? Packed. Courtiers, doctors, priests, nobles, not to help, but to watch. When Queen Marie-Therese delivered, the crowd was so dense it felt like a theater, not a birthing chamber. Why this invasion? Proof. Every gasp, every push had witnesses to ensure no baby swap, no stillborn or daughter secretly replaced by a healthy son. So the mother, in excruciating pain and raw vulnerability, endured her most private moments surrounded by staring eyes. No privacy, no dignity, just crushing expectation. Marie Antoinette famously collapsed after birth, overwhelmed by the stifling heat and suffocating crowd. She wasn't alone. Women fainted, screamed, or faced deadly complications, all performed under scrutiny. And death stalked these rooms. With primitive medicine and no antibiotics, 1 in 3 children died before age 3. Mothers perished too, often from infections spread by filthy hands and unsterile tools. So while bells rang for a royal birth, the mother's reality was terror, agony, and the cruel glare of the court. A national celebration built on a woman's exposed, private agony. Conclusion. So there you have it. 5 shocking truths lurking beneath Versailles' golden facade. Behind the glittering gowns, perfumed halls, and jeweled crowns, royal women endured a daily reality of grime, indignity, and hidden peril. They were icons of grace in public, but in private, scratching lice-infested scalps, stepping over waste, battling parasites from feasts, enduring childbirth as public spectacle. History painted them as paragons, but their truth was raw survival. If you thought royal life was all ball gowns and banquets, think harder. The real story is messier, smellier, and profoundly human. Until next time, keep digging into the past, because history isn't just fascinating, sometimes it's elbow deep in the filthy, unforgettable truth.